Hey everybody, I'm Jessica Davidson, and as most of you know, it is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. This video was actually supposed to be done on the 15th, but anyway, I'm just gonna tell you my story because I am 1 in 4, and I hope that it will help a lot of people understand what actually goes on. So I found out I was expecting shortly after my wedding, and you can only imagine after being told that you might never conceive how big of an impact that is and how exciting it is. We had a very happy start, no concerns whatsoever. I never thought about anything happening. I thought that everything was perfect. There was nothing. So we soon found out that it was a little boy, and we named him Zane Jonathan Lee Davidson. We were excited. We were first-time parents, and then one night I just woke up from a nap. I was 19 weeks pregnant. I woke up from a nap and I was soaked, and oh man, I must have had an accident. So I went to the bathroom and I cleaned myself up. I wasn't bleeding, I wasn't in pain, so I was like, okay. Well, a couple minutes later, after putting on new clothes on, I realized, I'm soaked again. Why? And that's when I knew something was really, really, really wrong. So that's when I went to the doctors for the first time, and I rushed to the hospital when we heard Zane's heartbeat, and I was like, alright, so everything's gonna be okay. Nothing's gonna happen. It was the first sign of relief I've had since it started. Soon after, I did start bleeding, and I got massive pain, and the doctor said I was contracting and my cervix was funneling. And if you're not sure what funneling is, so when you have an incomplete cervix and your cervix can't hold the weight, so it starts funneling, which causes, all that. So I was in shock and I was numb. I denied all pain medication. My son was still alive. I didn't think that you should be offering pain medications to someone who's pregnant. Well, they told me they would not do anything if he came. They wouldn't be able to incubate him. They would not be able to do anything to save him. And they told me that he would only live for a short moment, if that. After being in labor for hours, Zane finally arrived. I remember watching him breathe, just touching his chest, and it was an amazing feeling. It's a feeling that I still think about every day, and I can look back on and smile at that one feeling with him. After 2.5 hours, the doctors came back and asked if they could take him to see the pediatrician because they wanted to run some tests on him. Me being a mom who wanted my baby saved, I was like, yeah, and I didn't hesitate whatsoever, and I handed him to them. Well, an hour later, she returned with him and informed us that he did pass away, and obviously, and I asked them, what did you do, and they said, oh, we only did a few tests on him, and I said, I thought you were going to save him, and that's when they reminded me that they couldn't do anything for him. So, him passing away in their arms rather than mine was that was tough on me, because I should have held him the whole time instead of letting them take him. But, I was just trying to do whatever it was to save him. So that's my story of Zane. I wanted to share this picture of him. And there's a poem on here that says, I miss you so much too. It's beautiful here where I am. I'm never lonely or afraid because God's so very near. I walk with Jesus every day. He's so very kind and loving. Don't you worry, Mom. He holds my hand. I never have to cry, never get hurt. I see Grandpa every day. I play and laugh and hear you when you pray. Please, Daddy, stop being mad at God. You see, He loves me too. And even though I'm not with you, He will always be with me. Alright. And then, that was tough. It took me long time to be able to live with a lot of that. But a year later, we once again found out that we were expecting. We were scared to death. But it couldn't happen again. No way. It wouldn't happen to us. We can't lose 2 kids. So, my doctor confirmed I did in fact have an incomplete cervix, and I would need a stitch to carry all the way to term. My pregnancy started off really, really rocky with my daughter. It began to terrify both of us. I stayed in the hospital for weeks and days at a time for the majority of the pregnancy. My doctor then announced that we were officially having a daughter, and we named her Graceland Jane. I got my stitch and was filled with so much hope. Like, I posted on social media and said, "This is it, guys, this is it, we're bringing this baby home." So, that was when I thought everything would be alright, it would all be good. Then 2 weeks later, at 15 weeks, I started bleeding pretty heavily. I went straight to the hospital. Graceland was fine, but my cervix and my fluid levels were not. I denied being induced or letting them remove the stitch, even though they suggested otherwise. We were going to fight together. I was not going to give up this time. I would take every ounce of pain. I didn't care. And at the time, I was in massive, massive pain. They totally suggested I induce labor right then and there. And, I refused, and I went home. That night at home was the worst night of my life. I refused not to go back to the hospital at all costs. So I endured it, and endured it means no laying down, no standing up, no sitting. It was a constant back and forth, up and down. It was constant. I couldn't, the pain on my cervix was terrible. I could feel my cervix pulling. I could feel my cervix ripping. I could feel every bit of it. Finally, I decided I had to go in. I couldn't bear the pain anymore. It was excruciating. Upon my arrival, I was told I was in active labor. She was in the birth canal. They decided to transfer me to my specialist, which was about an hour away. So I told my husband, "You go ahead, I will meet you there." And so he left, and I figured that the ambulance would come right away, but unfortunately it didn't. They moved me to a birthing room, and when you go into the birthing room, they have the little cradle with everything in there, all new baby stuff everywhere. So, that really took a toll on me. If you have ever lost a child, any triggers or reminders of the situation, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So, I remember they put me in this room, and the young nurses shut the door, and an hour later, no one had even been in to see me or updated me or checked on me or nothing. So at that point is when that's when I broke down. I needed to get to the hospital. I needed to try to save my baby, and then I thought that it was possible. So I was screaming, I was freaking out, and finally somebody came in, and instead of hugging me or helping me or anything like that whatsoever, instead they started tugging at me, pulling at me, trying to pull my pants down to see how bad I was bleeding, to try to see what the damage was. And I remember looking at the girl and said, "I have to go. I need to save my child, I have to go." And I remember her, "No, I need to see what's in your pants. I need to see." And I said, "I know I'm bleeding. I know, that's why I'm trying to go." Well, finally, they got mad and walked out, making sure that they slammed the door behind them. And at that point, I was just filled with so much anger and so much resentment that all I could do was cry. And I cried completely by myself until transportation came to get me. When they came up to get me, they were the first people that actually seemed like they cared about what I was going through. They seemed like the first people to actually be like, "Hey, this girl is in a lot of pain and she's very upset, So they loaded me up and we were on our way. Finally, that was my first sigh of relief, like, alright, we're gonna get there. It's gonna be alright now. halfway there, like literally right in the halfway mark, I heard the most terrible sound I've ever heard in my life. I can still hear it ringing in my ears when I think about it. And it sounded like I was on a plane that was crashing because the tire blew on the ambulance. Go figure. Well, everyone's freaking out. They're all, oh my God, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I couldn't even cry because I was so, like, this is really gonna happen again. This is really going to happen again. So, they were all very, very nice. The guys on the EMTs, they were amazing. Let me just say that. But they quickly called for another transportation vehicle. They quickly got me assessed and ready to go. The other ambulance got there right away, and they transferred me from one to the other right in the middle of the interstate. So then we were on our way again, and that's when my water fully broke. And that's when I knew it was officially over. So we finally got there, and I finally seen my husband for the first time. And that was the first word I've said the whole ambulance ride was, oh my God, I just was so happy to see my husband. It's like I didn't see him in ages. And so I hugged him, I told him what happened pretty much, and I was rushed instantly to surgery to remove my stitch. So when I got back to surgery, of course they had to put me under. So I was put under and everything went black. When I awoke, I instantly thought that, I already had my child, and I kept begging for, where's my baby, where's Gracelyn, and finally they told me, honey, you haven't had her yet, she's just fine, but she did pass away. And, my first reaction was all this false hope that I keep getting, and all this switching up words, and it was just it was a moment that I was, even though I was filled with so many emotions at the time, it was a relieving moment because I knew she was still there with me. I knew that, I didn't miss that. So, after 13 full hours of extreme labor, I finally began pushing, and I finally did have her, and she was unfortunately passed away. The news I got afterwards was that as soon as they put me under, that's when she passed away. And so I just wanted to share my story because we don't talk about it. Usually everyone knows that we lost a kid. Everyone knows, oh, she's really upset she lost a kid, but they don't ever know the exact details. We don't ever actually tell anyone that. So today I'm breaking the silence, and I decided to tell you guys my story. I'm sorry I was a little debriefed. I've actually, like I said, this video was supposed to be out on the 15th, but I could not do it. So I know this is really fast paced. It's really kind of like all over the place. It doesn't seem very planned out or in a straight line, but that's just because I had to figure out the words to say so I would not break down in front of you guys, and it would not be an, oh, I'm just gonna watch this girl cry this whole video. So that is my story, and for the second half of this video, I just want to remember all the other children that have been lost, and I just want to remember all the other mothers that do go through what I have went through, and that are my sisters. And I also wanted to shout out to the dads too, because dads hurt just like we do, and they're the ones who keep us strong and held up, so they deserve just as much recognition. So I really hope you guys enjoy my slideshow as well. Thank you guys so much for listening.